Good morning, everyone. I have this privilege to start, and I would like to introduce my colleagues here. Peter Moore. He doesn't like the word legendary, but he's legendary in gaming and sports. So he's coming from both industries at the same time. So he's the former president of EA Sports, former COO of Electronic Arts, and he used to be the CEO of Liverpool Football Club. He also led some of the world's most recognized brands like Reebok, Patrick in his past, and today he's the founder and owner of Santa Barbara Football Club. And I have this amazing opportunity to work with Peter in reality games. Peter is our board advisor. Together with us is also Janusz. Janusz, the former vice president of Google. He was responsible for the entire Google Ads. Google, as we know, is the biggest advertising agency in the world, and he was driving those global marketing and product strategies. Recently, he left Google and joined us as a chief business officer. So, guys, welcome to this fireside chat, and we will be trying to make it interesting. We will be trying to talk about the IPs, the Monopoly world, and also hopefully some stories from the past. So, thank you very much for coming to Krakow. Thank you very much for joining me at this lovely conference. That would be the introduction.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so the icebreaker question. Well, the easiest one will be, what brought you to Krakow? And accept the weather. The weather is it's not the best right now. Hopefully, it will change for tomorrow. I mean, what was, Peter, what you are seeing in the first hours of your arrival? How do things look like here?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. And in answer to your question, I think that I'm in my 70s now. I've been going to video game conferences for best part of 25 years. Our industry is amazing. And I joined it in the late 90s, in the days of dial-up. I joined Sega to launch the Sega Dreamcast. We were still figuring out how to get games to run on a 56K baud modem at 30 frames a second. And it's an industry I joined when I was in my mid-40s and moved out, as Zbig said, that of the footwear industry, and had this huge opportunity to join video games, in my estimation, at the right time. It was the genesis of what we now have as a $200 billion industry. I have been thrilled to attend conferences all over the world. It's my first time in Poland, and I've heard so much about Digital Dragons. And I think people like myself who have enjoyed the fruits of this industry for the best part of a quarter of a century have an obligation to attend these conferences, to provide whatever pearls of wisdom that I can, my experience, the things that I've lived through with Sega, with Xbox, and with EA, and being a very small part of an industry that has gone through so many challenges and continues to go through challenges. And when you invited me to join Reality Games, the opportunity for me to be able to provide any level of support with a game with unbelievable intellectual property and monopoly, with a global view of what a game should be, and with a very interesting game mechanic. And of course, Monopoly is one of those great brands that's so elastic. And I put it right there with Lego and these amazing brands that can survive and flourish in whatever medium they're in. And so the opportunity was certainly too great to turn down. And certainly coming here to Krakow and attending Digital Dragons is an honor and a privilege for me.
Thank you for that. Janusz, what's the story behind? Like, you didn't live in Krakow.
No, I didn't live in Krakow, but I was here a few times. Actually, I was here 20 years ago, and I had that story with you. We in the office, which is right now in the old railway station, the Reality Games. It was 20 years ago when I went there, and then I came here 2 years ago, and that has changed a lot. It's not longer a railway station. It's actually the very vibrant place to be in Krakow. So that has changed a lot. But what brought me here, it's probably something that I need to move a little bit back in my, in time and think about the moments or decisions I made or lessons learned that shaped me. And then maybe I'll give you two examples. So I started from the youngest age. I really was into intersection of technology and content, and I made probably a mistake because I went to consulting. It was a little bit boring, but I spent there 3 years, and it was nice, working with those big CEOs and big companies and with big deals and big programs. But it wasn't something that I wanted to do for long, and then I decided, well, maybe it's a time to co-found a business, and I started my business. And this business was, that's very important, that was back in 2002. The business focused on location-based marketing and advertising, probably the second company in that space in Europe. And guess what? That was one of the things that really attracted me. I remember I did some work with New Line Cinema and biggest mobile operators in Europe. And you remember probably the movie The Lord of the Rings. I found a good moment to connect those two things, and a good IP content and businesses with a lot of customers. And I did this location-based marketing and contest in this part of the Europe. And I was able to, because of a good link, I could see the impact of a good IP on the results. I had 30% conversion rate on some contest when the market average was 1% in this part of the Europe. So that was one of the pivotal moments that showed me, okay, it's important to think about right content for to accelerate the technology approval. And the second moment, a very pivotal moment for me, I was thinking, well, I need now to have a global impact. I want to help users and businesses. And at the same time, Google started the global development back 2006. And I joined them in 2006, connecting my interests and Google interests, and I helped them grow and scale globally. Started in Warsaw, opening offices for them across this part of the Europe, then all emerging markets, if you think about India, South America, Indonesia. So this is what I helped. I was launching the things that you probably all use, Google Search, YouTube, Google Maps, Chrome. It was the moment that I realized, if you have a good technology, you really can bring value to users. And it was one of the moments which actually pushed me to think about what's the next step. And recently I realized, I heard this news, and it's actually big news, that relatively a small scale-up from Poland got a big license from Monopoly. It doesn't happen. It's usually big giants like Scopely or Niantic, they got those licenses. And I think this is one of those pivotal moments for reality games. So that was one. And the second, I think another one, the technology that is behind this can actually help us to go outside gaming, the whole location-based technology. We can go outside the gaming. And it was the moment when I thought, okay, maybe I should look deeper into that cooperation. And last but not least, the group of investors and advisors like Peter around this actually brought me here. So it's a mix of things, but put this into my perspective and career. So that brought me here to reality games.
Outside of gaming, okay. Peter, you were outside of gaming, and also you were together with gaming. I mean, how do you connect those things, sports and gaming? I mean, in sports you have fans, in games you have also fans, you have also users, like players. How this connection? Could you describe a few thoughts?
Well, the evolution of gaming, you know, again, I've been privileged to be a part of it since the late 90s, has shown us how to deal on a global basis with incredibly engaged, vociferous fans, shall we call it, no different than sports. And certainly my experience running Liverpool Football Club, there wasn't a day that went by in meetings there at Liverpool that I wasn't drawing from my gaming experience of managing communities, of creating content that engages you 24/7, and looking at beyond purely the game itself to provide value for people's lives. And that's what gaming has always been about, particularly with the advent of online, which engages us. We went from you and your friend on the couch, if you were lucky playing a co-op game, to you versus millions of people. And then certainly at my time, Electronic Arts, I was there for a decade where we moved into the digital realm. And all of a sudden, our customer wasn't Best Buy or Walmart or GameStop. It was you guys, because we could deliver games directly to your hard drives through high-speed broadband. And so I've been fortunate to see the growth of, you know, memory from like 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes in the Xbox 360 to terabytes, from speeds from the 56K dial-up modem of your Sega Dreamcast, which was great till your mom picked up the phone in the other room and disconnected you from your game, to, you know, blazing gigabyte speeds that we now enjoy. And certainly at Electronic Arts, we grasped that early, and we moved our entire business that way. So this concept of what games means, outside of just playing the game, it's the biggest entertainment medium in the world by far. And so brands want to be associated with that. You know, I have 2 daughters who work for Electronic Arts and a son who works for Future Networks in the UK that are very involved in bringing brands into games themselves. Brands want to be associated with Gen Z, with millennials, and they see engagement numbers in video games that are unbelievable and anything greater than television or movies and music. And so we need to be aware of that, the attraction that we have in games to these brands, and obviously vice versa. And, you know, you see brands like Monopoly, and we were talking earlier about brands like Lego that have embraced video games as a way of getting a bigger share of voice and a bigger footprint on a global basis. It's not just us buying a license from Monopoly. Monopoly sees the value, Hasbro sees the value of its intellectual property being truly interactive, which is what is the unique selling proposition of video games.
Well, for the Monopoly, we see this as an umbrella brand for partners, for brands, because Monopoly. We were shocked when we have seen over 1,500 partners collaborating with Monopoly globally. You know, you can buy the mayo with Mr. Monopoly in Algeria. You can buy several board games. Every time you go to the shop, you're seeing a new one. And it's Mr. Monopoly brings this vision of fun, this very unique understanding with money. You know, this is in a funny way, in a positive way. You know, those emotions actually were coming from family when they were playing the board game, and perhaps it is just 3 hours per year, but still they're going to buy another box of Monopoly. They will buy it for another present. So we saw opportunity with Monopoly Festival with the buildings, because you have, you know, the board full of buildings, and our technology allows us to have over 100 million of real world buildings. So actually we can create the Monopoly game. The other aspect is the future of gaming. We see that the revenue, especially in mobile, was destroyed by Google. Actually, this is my thing for Janusz. It was destroyed because now when you look at mobile gaming studio, when they earn $1 million, well, 85% of that amount goes to Google and Apple. It doesn't go anywhere else. And this is the current situation. So how did you destroy the mobile gaming industry, Janusz?
Thank you for inviting me to reality games. Maybe I will answer it a little bit differently. Let's think about challenges that we have in the gaming industry. So when we think about, there's a technology, it's a one thing, like location-based technology. It's something that gives us a lot of new opportunities to grow. But on the other hand, when you think about getting the license, the monopoly license, it's a game changer, I think. Now, having those two things, and I'm talking from perspective of reality games and the challenges that we have. Having those two things and mixing them, of course, we can do a immersive player experience with the license, the content, and the technology we have. But because of this IP, we actually can fight against probably three challenges that we have. Number one, what you just said, we all know that user acquisition costs. This is something
ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah. Like those costs are killing specifically smaller and studios, and usually people big pockets can win those those auctions and win those users. And with this IP, actually, we believe we can decrease that part of the budget for us, simply because the knowledge of this IP is very huge around influencers and partners. And we're already seeing this. We are preparing tests with influencers. We are able to negotiate wonderful deals that help us to decrease those user acquisition costs. And then we meet with the partners that know the value of this brand. And again, we are able to acquire customers without spending a penny. So that's one, and I think this is the way for us to, to at least cover some of this challenge. I think another one, which is very important one, with this specific IP, we can actually go outside the gaming monetization story or approach. We actually can touch the industries on businesses and monetize something that we couldn't monetize, specifically in location-based context. We can actually go to markets like working with retailers, fashion houses, mobile operators, and we suddenly look at markets with mobile coupons, $700 billion per year. That's the market that we'll touch. Another market that we are touching is how can we connect this with loyalty programs of those partners that we are talking to. So we are going outside gaming, finding new revenue streams. And I think the third one, which is critical for us, and you look at all of the statistics in gaming. We still, like all publishers, fighting for the same players, for their time. And with Monopoly, actually, we are trying to go outside this, this circle of playing with the same players and their time. We want to touch families and collectors. There are 1 billion of them playing Monopoly, 1 billion. And with this technology location base and this license, we actually can probably unlock new type of customers, new type of players. And it's a big vision for us and for Hasbro. So that's, I think, is something like those three challenges. When you think about this one, it's a good combination what we have in reality games to challenge this.
I fully agree with you as a CEO of reality. The thing is, there is always execution, so you need to deliver things. You need to deliver things, and if the game is successful, suddenly everyone wants to work with you. But to be successful, you also need to convince minds and convince brands before you are going to launch. So I remember our great conversation with partners. So already, a lot of brands we talked. I mean, they would love to be with us from the start, even with soft launch, pilot integration, all those things. But the huge success from Scopely came up, and everything now is very difficult from the from perspective of you need to be ready and 100% for the global launch. So we cannot do things in a startup way. So we cannot do global branding without global launch. We cannot do the branding in soft launch. So we cannot integrate those partnerships, deals in a soft launch, even if they are 50% of our of the monetization plan. But my question is to Peter, it's really related to how the brands see gaming and what's the value for them? It's like the typical, the advertising, or is there something more?
Well, gaming has an advantage over just about every other advertising medium, that it's interactive. And we start thinking about what gaming can deliver to the world's top brands. And the world's top brands always are looking at gaming as to how that they can engage with a particular game. And gamers, look at the demographics, primarily male, but growing female interaction, Gen Z, millennials, by the hundreds of millions. And being able to deliver, which we were certainly at EA focused on delivering real-time results by the hour, by the minute of who was interacting with your particular brand in a game like FIFA, in a game even like a Star Wars, these huge IPs that brands want to associate themselves with. Now, never easy because you've got to go through all kinds of steps to get the brands in there, but gaming has always been an attraction to brands, all the way back to when we were launching Halo and Mountain Dew would come in with a multi-million-dollar sponsorship to sponsor a map or a full level in the Halos, all the way to the game formerly known as FIFA now, where there is as many as 60 brands in EA Sports FC, I'm referring to, that pay millions of dollars to have the privilege of interacting with gamers. And you add to what we have with Monopoly World, knowing exactly where that person is on this planet at any given time. When you and I first started talking, it reminded me of the movie Minority Report, which I don't know whether anybody's seen it. It's a long time ago now, but Tom Cruise is in an environment in a shopping mall where the retailers knew exactly where he was and whether it was a heads-up display or a holographic image, and it seemed so ridiculously futuristic when we were watching that movie, but it's possible now that you're walking past a particular retailer and up pops either on your Meta glasses or a holographic display a 10% off. Walk in now, Janusz, and I'll give you 10%. It knows who you are, what size you are. It's also already got your credit card number on file. Walk in, grab, go, and there's no transaction. There's no friction to the transaction. So brands want that interaction, and our demographic in gaming is unbelievably desirable.
Well, I have found that, especially when you look from the perspective that in the App Store, you have so many brands there who have the apps. And so, for example, Starbucks. We can imagine the Starbucks app. How does it work? Well, first of all, it has millions of users. So this is a very successful app from the perspective. But when you look into the details, and you compare this kind of app with a game, you will see a huge difference in engagement. Engagement rate for the Starbucks app is about 2 minutes per session. And when you compare this with games which are like 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 15 minutes, suddenly you see a completely different thing. Well, people, they don't want to open, the branded app on the sofa when they have some free time at home. They are doing this only at the cash register. So it means it's more like a wallet. It's more like something digital what used to be physical, because before that you had the physical loyalty card, in your wallets. Our wallets were like 15 membership cards. Actually, the typical American has 9 active loyalty programs, and we have seen potential there. We have seen potential of giving the brands possibility to work with us with Monopoly World, that we will be activating the customers, and those customers, they have loyalty points, and we will be able to move those loyalty points and convert that to soft currency. And this is something unique, never done before at the scale, but also it's extremely difficult because you need to talk with everyone. You need to talk, and those discussions, they are amazing because people want to work together. But there are a lot of things which are coming with the new things, like it's a technology, so the legal perspective, IP. So you have in the room a lot of lawyers who are looking at the IP, who are looking at the legal things. Was it a bit easier before, like when you were, running FIFA like that?
Well, let's stay on Starbucks for a second. I was listening to a podcast. There's a great podcast called Acquired, which those of you who listen to podcasts and love business, you can deep dive. The history of Sega, the history of Nintendo is in there. These are 4 hours long. I just happened to be listening to a couple of weeks ago. He said that the worst thing that he did at Starbucks was allow that mobile app to be greenlit. Now, what did he mean by that? Huge money, massive float in the hundreds of millions of dollars of cash that sits there, but it killed interaction. You come in, you grab your coffee, you go. You don't interact with the baristas. It's no longer what Starbucks calls the third place, right? Home office Starbucks. And so whilst it was a great commercial success for Starbucks, the ethos and the culture of Starbucks was potentially irreversibly damaged. I mean, I go in, I order on the mobile app, I go grab, I don't hang out there anymore. Secondarily, the one thing that does give them interaction once a year is when they gamify that app. And I don't know if they do it here in Poland, but in the United States, there's a gamification where you go in, you buy something, it gives you a chance of getting free coffee. Their interaction level goes through the roof. Their engagement level goes through the roof. So the gamification of commercial transactions becomes key. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing with the opportunity that we're presenting to brands, particularly location-based, that you're driving past a particular retailer and you can interact. I'm talking too much. You can interact with that retailer in a real-time way that leads to what they need, which is a commercial transaction. And gaming has a unique opportunity to do that, again, that other entertainment mediums don't have.
Maybe I will add something from the technology perspective. It has changed so, like, in a big way. I remember in 2002 when I was working with mobile operators and sending ads and games. The technology was primitive. Location-based technology, it was, something that was working on text messages and WAP, if you remember that protocol. I remember I was connecting my application with a Ukrainian operator, and the protocol that was serving it was email. And you know how it works, email, like it you need to depack the email, and then it goes around the world and connects again. And basically, when you do contests and games on time, you cannot do this with email. And that was the technology back then. And now, 2 decades later, the technology that we have actually can help us gamify the games, much better and make sure that the user experience is there. It's not just you need to wait 2 minutes to get that SMS to play. So I think it's something that is accelerating, and again, it's very difficult. This retail experience and gamification, but the technology is there. So it's different time.
Yeah, we call it a mobile retail experience. Well, it's related with geofencing. But the issue also is connected with Google and Apple. Another one, I will tell you. Because there's a technology and there is a use of the phone, of the GPS, of the features. So when you download the app, we are asking for the GPS permission, and people are scared. Because the question, which is coming from the system is, are you allowing this app to give the GPS location? And the app, and then, the user is scared, and he's saying, no, they are going to spy me, spy on me. I don't want to give that permission. And we lose 10% in our conversion. And this is really hurting us a lot. Because when you are building a geolocation product, you need to ask for GPS. And we are being hurt by 10% of that. Another aspect when...
But you don't think twice about Google Maps and Apple Maps and giving them your position within 6 feet on this planet at any given time?
Yes, I agree. This is something what, it came from technology. The Google is not asking for that. They put this for the third-party developers, yeah? That's the fact. Another issue which we have a huge success is when the users will allow us to give us the access to Google Health or Apple Health to connect the steps. Because we are implementing a step tracker, and we are connecting the step tracker with geofencing and with the geolocation experience. But here still we have this additional 20% refusal rate. So we need to explain why we ask for that. Because we are powering the game with steps. So it's actually the healthy game, the healthy habit. This is something what we want to put for families to allow the kids to play on mobile in a healthy environment, because move, those things are important. And then we want to connect the brands. And in an also healthy way, that those loyalty programs are coming also from health. So we are seeing this huge potential there. What is actually still hurting us, again, it is Google and Apple for those permissions. But it's an amazing story when we talk with the brand managers. They love it, they want it. The question is, how big this can be, and globally under monopoly umbrella, and how were the first days with FIFA? I would say, did you think that this will go like such a great, powerful, mind-blowing, emotional e-sport experience?
Well, those of you remember, FIFA in the early 90s and all the way through the early 2000s was neck and neck with Pro Evo soccer. And actually, at times, Konami had a better game. The big difference, certainly during my tenure, but I take no credit for it, is that we recognize the power of authenticity and intellectual property. And whilst we're probably neck and neck from a game engine perspective, and in a football game, physics, audio, everything that you need to make the game authentic, the real unique selling proposition ultimately became the intellectual property, the licenses that we got, the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, all of the clubs, all of the different players, referees associations, the ball, stadiums. Players want authenticity. They want to see the intellectual property on their mobile screen that they see on their television screen that they see day in, day out. FIFA, EA Sports FC is probably now $1.8 billion, $2 billion a year. And I will look back on my days as president of EA Sports and the decisions we made to be a licensee of some of the world's biggest football brands and to provide the gamer with that level of authenticity that they wanted. You know, Arsenal is Arsenal in EA Sports FC, it's North London Gunners or whatever it is in Pro Evo. And that's not good enough. And so when you have world-class intellectual property in the most convoluted world of gaming now, with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of games to choose from, what pops you up, what gives you the advantage is having globally recognized intellectual property. And we certainly, in answer to your question, saw by getting the Premier League in England exclusively, Bundesliga in Germany exclusively, contracting with clubs like Manchester United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea, you name it, exclusively. That was the difference between having that and a generic football game.
So it was lawyers, meetings in the office to
make that happen? Yeah, a lot of money, but you bet big to get big. And so we swallowed hard and took, this is 2010, 2011, as we were going more and more digital, and said, look, the way that we're listening to football fans, forums, social media was starting to take off. You could see the feedback. I would voraciously read feedback every night. Reddit, NeoGAF, obviously Game Informer, Eurogamer, everything I would read. And this desire for authenticity in the game was key. And so we spent a considerable amount of money and bet big on exclusive intellectual property that bluntly locked out our competitor and gave us that advantage. And at the same time, took the money as well we were making to develop the game, to make the game better, because it wasn't necessarily in some of those years a better game to play than Pro Evo, but it had that level of authenticity.
So what you're saying is that it doesn't need to be the best game, but needs to be the best strategy.
Ideally, it needs to be both. But you need a strategy. What is your North Star? Our North Star with game formerly known as FIFA is we're going to be the best simulation of 90 minutes of football. And then with the power of online, we're going to build the culture of football, not just playing it you versus your friend, but also training, academies, player journeys through the system. And this allowed us to envelop the entire global football ecosystem into the game environment itself.
Okay, thank you. Janusz, mobile gaming from the tech perspective, like, you know, the Google will be more greedy and still destroy developers, you know? Will it be so? I'm asking you, I mean, I can ask you like that because you are no longer with those guys. But, you know, what will happen? Like, how do you predict this for the next 2 years for Google App Store? How do you see this, the stores, where they will go? Because it's impossible now to search and find the app because the Google is, you know, promoting the apps for you. Which are, of course, which have very good monetization, not those which you're really looking for.
So I don't know the future, but when you think about the model for Google Apps and players in that space, everyone is looking for scalability. Everyone is looking for products that meet the needs of the customers. So when you think about Google, when you think about Apple, they will always look for those insights. Which game is the biggest? Which game has the potential to drive the biggest revenue? And usually it's like in a venture market right now, you need to show the impact before they invest. So it's very similar with those big players. They need to see that the game is already delivering and meeting customer needs. So I think it's one of those things where the algorithms and business judgment will still be dominant in the future. I think that's one, but it's not like diminishing the value of these big players in helping startups. Even our case, we just were accepted to Google Cloud program, which is great, and Google is investing in us, helping us to scale our infrastructure and make sure we are prepared for a global launch. So I think we need to think about this in packets. There are areas where those big guys invest a lot and help startups, and there are the areas where they understand the market, that they know what they are looking for, and they will go into the direction.
Fully agree with that. Yes, thank you, Google, for that. But I believe maybe there will be some questions from the audience. If we are in Poland, let's hope there will be. Yeah, we have 1, 2. Perfect. Okay. How this works? Do we pass the mic?
Yeah. No. The microphone's there, and
okay.
If you have any questions.
Okay. Perfect.
Hi. So, a question to Peter. I mean, you have a great long-term perspective for the gaming market. Yeah, I mean, so it's not about your age. You look great, but you just have this great perspective. And looking at the current market, we only see a piece of this market where we see it's huge. It's very competitive. If you want to break through, you need to have something special. I mean, if you would. Point out 3 things, and 3 things which you think you find also in the monopoly world, which will make it a breakthrough on this mobile market also, which is in particular kind of attention market with let's say limited or kind of limits in terms of the capacity that can go through the mobile. This would be great. Thank you.
I think, Adam, three things I think about: instant name, brand recognition, a developer with a track record that gamers look at and go, I remember that game they did. And then thirdly, a unique game mechanic that is different than things that are out there currently. If you can combine those 3 things, and to Zbig's point, you can execute and be patient. That's the other thing as well, particularly in the mobile world. You think of games that have taken off only after 3 months and 6 months, and it's word of mouth, and your DAUs were, at first you're worried, your ARPU is not where it needed to be, but you persisted, you were resilient, and you kept going. In today's world, that's what it takes. I've lived through the ups and downs of this industry over the cycles of consoles coming and going, all the way back to the Sega Genesis and the Sega Saturn to the Dreamcast, and I've seen these dips and peaks and valleys, but ultimately it's always gone like this. And so with the opportunity certainly we have here at Reality Games, I think the 3 things that I mentioned, what we've got with Monopoly World ticks all those boxes. And it breaks through this cacophony that you go on, whether it's Google Play or the App Store, and you go, what do I want to play? And hundreds of thousands of games, and the algorithm sometimes isn't favorable for companies that are coming in with the name of a game that means nothing to gamers. But the advantage we have, world-class IP, top-class developer, very interesting game mechanic.
Thank you.
Hello. First and foremost, thanks a lot for the lecture. It was really great. I mean, the amount of experience and legacy at one stage is really amazing. Yeah, so for the question, currently, like nowadays, there are a lot of brands and games that are like building their marketing campaigns. I mean, especially the games with like IP heavy or the blockbuster IPs like Scopely, like Dream Games. They're building lots on influencers marketing. Yeah, like worldwide stars. They're throwing a lot of money there. So the question is, do you think that could be crucial for the game like yours to survive and to market and to scale? And secondly, like, are you planning to throw something like this?
So maybe I will take it and then you can help me. So maybe the first part of the question about influencers, and probably you have two models. One, you pay a lot of money to influencers to help you. In the current business model, flat fee, pay a lot, help us, or have a big deal, like you were saying, exclusive deal with a certain name, and you pay big money. So your acquisition costs are probably still high. Probably you are getting better users with higher retention rates, and they would stay with you, but you still pay a lot of money. And I think the other one is when you have a good run, a good game mechanics, like we believe we have in Monopoly world, actually you can start thinking about different business models. So what I mentioned at the beginning, starting working with influencers, launching a revenue share model, it's a different one. You can actually decrease your user acquisition cost just going into a different model because they really like they know the brand, but they also like the mechanics of the game. So I think that this is one of the things where you can think about influencers, not only in terms of how much you need to spend, but actually how you can change the mechanics around the game.
Well, I can add that currently influencers, they work on CPM, and the conversation is it's very professional with majority of them. The question is, can you go deeper with the integrations? Because instead of having just 90 seconds integration, you could go deeper. You could go deeper with the technology. And those integrations are changing, and still they are seeing only with the biggest guys, with the biggest budget. But technology is allowing you to do things in a mass scale with even micro influences. In May, we are in May, that will be about around 10 days, we will be testing that in Poland, integration with 50 micro-influencers that have dedicated leaderboard, dedicated game, and dedicated skins on the map. So this is something what is new, what actually goes with only high-end influencers, but we are testing this on a small scale. So we will have some results in 10 days from Poland. Happy to share them.
Thank you.
I have a question because from the developer perspective, I wonder, because of this entry threshold to download the app, to download the game, have you thought maybe about integrating, in opposite way, integrating your game into Google Maps, for example, where people allow GPS, obviously, and about the topic of the speech of this panel from Google. So maybe this is some kind of solution to have more downloads, or I don't know, or maybe provide to Monopoly some, I don't know, GPS tracking, or have you thought about something to expand the
let me answer that. When you open Google Maps, it doesn't look gamish. It has a lot of details. It has a lot of things, that you need to remove as a developer. You don't want to have those adult scene nightclubs, okay? When you have a game, especially for 8 years olds. To do that, you need to have a power to change, and Unfortunately, the Google Maps for gaming, I cannot say so many bad things about Google. They are investing in us. I remember we went to Google, they were doing Google Maps for gaming, and they are not doing it anymore. And some developers, they had to kill the games because they were using Google Maps for gaming. So we had to do our own maps. So we have like Google Maps, we have reality maps, and we are using them and for our games. So we are not having this third part. We are not the third party here. It's difficult, and the issue with maps, the entire geolocation, the biggest issue is that every player starts in different environments. So every game looks different. For the first experience is different. So you cannot have this well-tested, preserved experience, first 2 minutes experience, first 5 minutes experience, that you have a full control, that the game looks nice, that the game, is predictable. If you are starting somewhere in the village, still we need to provide the content, and which is of course limited. So those are the challenges. Hopefully I am explained. Thank you.
Maybe I will add. Can I say demonize? I would not demonize.
Demonize.
Demonize. I'm sorry. I would not demonize this GPS agreement, because eventually I think we are losing right now 7% of these people. Half of them are coming back later. But when they actually click on GPS and a step tracker, D1 is growing up to 70% retention rate. 70%. You're basically getting these users that are very dedicated to the game, and hopefully they will stay with us for longer. So I would not demonize it. I think what's even more important is to think about how we work with these big brand names, partners, retail networks, fashion houses, mobile operators, because then we can reach new customer segments with the brands that can be associated with Monopoly World.
Can I just finish on a bit of a positive, seeing as we've been ranting for the last 30 minutes. It's 20 years ago this year that we launched the Xbox 360. The first high-definition console, and the first console that really took advantage of the internet. But even in those days, we were still expending a huge amount of money on television advertising. And I just want to give you one example, and this may be before some of you were born, but certainly you were kids. We had a game we were launching. It was also the launch of the Unreal Engine 3 from Epic. It was called Gears of War. And that game really was a game changer, no pun intended, for the way that people looked at games. We didn't have the ability to engage with our gamers where they were. We were still using network television. But the one thing we did was create an amazing TV commercial. And if you haven't seen it, I would urge you to go find it. The theme tune to it is Mad World, not Tears for Fears, but Gary Jules' version. I tell you this because it cost us tens of millions of dollars. We wanted to do it in-engine. We wanted our hero, it was sad. It really was a game changer, again, no pun intended, for the way video games were perceived. They were perceived as a result of this commercial as works of art with storytelling and characters that were poignant. And so go look at that. But even then, we couldn't target our gamer. We threw it out there. We hoped people watched the television. We hoped they would buy an Xbox 360. We hoped that they would buy Gears of War as a result of that. There was no metrics. There was no ability to understand who had watched it other than Nielsen ratings, which would come out a week or 2 weeks afterwards. What we have here in gaming today and with Monopoly World is the ability to real-time measure who is where, what are they buying, how we can add value to their lives. So go watch Mad World, go Google it. It is 2006, it was done by McCann Erickson out of New York. It's a TV commercial I'm very proud of. My colleagues remember Mad World. It really changed the way we thought about video games as a medium. And if you want to go look at one of those moments in time where our industry changed, that was it. But even having said that, we still couldn't measure anything, unlike what we can do today. So I did want to leave a positive for Google and also a positive for our game. Welcome to Zbig's rant session and therapy for all of it. So we're very excited.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.